So day 8 to day 15, our second week of Ride to Rescue. For me personally, it was a much better week than my first week. After the first week, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed with it all, to be honest. Really, I remember that first night. I remember going to bed and I thought, what have I got myself into? But pretty much every day since then, it's got better. Day 8, we started off. We rode from Ermerton to St. Hugh Bay in Belgium, and it was basically probably our first hilly day of the trip, our real hilly day. We rode for about 20 k's before we actually got breakfast. We were starving by the time we got there. We managed to find quite a small town, and I remember as we were pulling in, there was this bloke that was just sort of excuse me, desperate to talk to a horse. And as he's grabbed horse, he started explaining what he does, and he's a keen walker, and he just loves walking. And basically we sat down with him. He ended up buying us all coffee. Horse was on budget, so I remember horse is on budget. Basically he just buys the whole bakery, and it's all about quantity rather than quality. We had big breadsticks, all awesome, and we had quite a big meal because I remember it was a really tough day. We rode across, we headed towards St. Hugh Bay. I remember about 10 k's out we sort of pulled out, and it was really hilly. The last climb was about 4 k's. We finally got to St. Hugh Bay, and we camped in like a playground, really, in the middle of the city, just because we couldn't find anywhere else to camp. Johnny and Seahorse went out. I think Azra and I were pretty knackered, so we just cooked our meals, and I read my book and stuff, and was quite boring, and went to bed. The other boys went out though. I think they were going around telling people it was their 6-month anniversary, like they do in the Motorcycle Diary, so they didn't have to buy a beer, which from what I hear actually worked quite well for them. The next day they were quite hungover, and probably let the team down a bit, but to be honest, it's probably good to have quite an easy day. Azra and I both secretly hope the boys go out and get hungover, so we can tick them over quite easily. We probably only did about 50 k's that day. We're heading towards Luxembourg, and it didn't really matter to pull up short because we found a lake spot that was probably, I think it was La Neuve, I think it was called, and it was absolutely amazing. Like, it was just this massive lake, and there were a couple of guys fishing there. We just set up our tents, and we're basically right on the water. Probably hadn't had a shower for a few days either, so it was good to have a rinse in the lake as well. Next day we woke up, rode into Luxembourg. It was a pretty easy day, really, probably only 40 k's, and then I guess we had a day off the next day, so we just checked in at the campsite, went back in the city and had a bit of a look around. Went to a hostel hoping there'd be a bit of a party there, considering we had a day off. Unfortunately, it was just full of school kids and quite boring. Managed to find a couple of English blokes actually, Johnny and Kit, and they were riding from London to Greece, and they were really good blokes. So we had a beer with them and had a pretty good night with those guys. Next day, had a day off. Not much really interesting happened. Saw a bit of the town. Azra and I spent most of the day on the wrong bus and seeing the whole city that way. Next day we woke up and we headed towards started heading towards south, down towards Uberlingen. We basically rode about 140 kilometres to a place called Saarbrücken, and when we got there, it was we were looking for a place to camp. We saw this awesome restaurant, and we hadn't really treated ourselves all trip, so we thought we'd ask if we could camp out the back of the restaurant if we ate there, and the owner said, yep, no worries, sounds great. So it worked out quite a cheap night for us because we didn't have to pay for a campground or anything like that. We camped out the back. Unreal. The people there were lovely. They were French. So this was in Saarbrücken, which is kind of on the border of France and Germany. They walked out at the end of the night. They let us use their showers, and then at the very end of the night, the guy came out and he had bread, wine, cheese, everything, just all for free, and it was unreal, and it just shows the generosity of some of the people we've met so far. The next day was quite a big day as well. We did 170 k's from memory. We went from Saarbrücken south to Strasbourg, and that was a very tough day. I remember by the end of the day we were all absolutely knackered. Just remember a horse just turned around to me and goes, "Stick a fork in me because I'm done." Terrible joke, but we both understood exactly where he was coming from with that. The next day after Strasbourg, where did we head to? I think we went down towards Shaffhausen was the next day. No, it wasn't Shaffhausen. I'll just have a quick look at my notes. It was Biersheim, that's right. And Biersheim is basically like it's kind of like a little island, I guess, in the middle of the river between both France and Germany. And we stayed there. It was quite expensive it was at a campground. It was quite expensive really for what it was. It was a pretty ordinary place, I thought. But look, we were due for a good sleep, so we had a good rest there. I cooked the boys dinner while they went for a beer and popped over the other side. Thought it'd be fun to go have a beer in Germany. And then the next day we pumped out a massive day to the now infamous Shaffhausen, which we found out once we got there, it actually means work hard. And the whole way trying to get to Shaffhausen, that was another 170km day. And it was pouring rain. I remember we just had our backs against the wall. I was feeling pretty crook, I remember, and it was a really tough day. And the whole way we're just yelling Shaffhausen, like let's just get there, let's get there. And it was pouring down rain towards the end. And I remember we finally got there, and Ermerton was in one of the worst moods I've ever seen. He was so hungry, and since then I've learned a very valuable lesson about the man. And he basically ran into the first Macca's as soon as we got to Shaffhausen and smashed down about 3 cheeseburgers before we even had dinner. We had dinner, and yeah, I remember it was a pretty good night actually. We were soaking wet. I remember I was pretty keen to sort of get a room again. Johnny got into me for being a bit soft. I remember I was feeling sick and wanted a bed. Probably was a bit soft in hindsight, but yeah, what can you do? Ended up getting a campsite a bit further out of Shaffhausen, and yeah, that was pretty much the second week for us. So yeah, quite exciting.